So I don't actually think that I've talked about this before. This is about overcoming judgment, but it's not about overcoming judgment in general, it's about overcoming judgment in terms of the way that you dress. So if you dress in a way that's particularly different, so let's say you're really into alternative fashion or queer fashion or very, very creative fashion, then it's about overcoming the way that people might perceive you or how you think people are perceiving you. You know, sometimes I've experienced it where, you know, I've been walking around, certainly when I was younger, and I have found it a lot in sort of smaller places, not as much in cities, but certainly in smaller places. I've been walking around and I can feel the eyes on me, and I look and I can see them looking at me. And for some people that's hard, for some people that's difficult, you know, feeling the eyes on you, feeling that you're probably being judged, and you may well be, but not knowing what it is that they're thinking. Judgment holds us back from a lot of things, and I think that it can hold you back from authentic expression as well. The way that I dress and the way that I present is just so important to me. It carries so much meaning, probably more than a lot of people realise, and that's why I want to try to make sure that other people don't feel held back from that, that other people don't feel that they can't be themselves, that they can't be their authentic selves. I think sometimes people need a bit of extra support, and I think, you know, it might be helpful for anyone who's maybe a bit apprehensive about it, or who maybe is already dressing in a way that's really different, but who's struggling. You know, if you're struggling with judgment, with outside judgment, then, you know, I hope that maybe seeing other people who are dressing differently and seeing that it is possible to do that, and that it is possible to do that and be okay doing that, you know, maybe it will be helpful. I think it's probably worth thinking about as well the fact that there's dressing alternative and then there's dressing queer, and, you know, I feel like, for me, these are elements that are all part of the way that I dress, so sometimes I sort of lump them in together, but let's try to remember as well that there are different, you know, that there could be different issues associated with this, because if you dress in a way that's particularly queer, or if you want to get really into queer fashion, you know, you might also be worried about how people might perceive your sexuality and how they might feel about that. So here are some of the practical things that I do to sort of help myself with this. Obviously, the first thing is just to make sure that you're safe. You know, and remember that, you know, if you're in a public place, you know, then I think that's more likely to be a safe place. And, you know, just remembering that, you know, whatever people think about how it is that you dress, what it is that you're wearing, that, you know, if you're in a public place, you are safe, and that you don't have to, you know, that their opinions don't have to affect you, that you don't have to take those on. Often the judgment comes from people we don't know as well. It can so often, and maybe you have experienced it from people in your close circle, but in my experience it's often been people who I just don't know. It's just been strangers on the street and the way that they look at me. And sometimes I think we can go home and we can carry that with us, and we're thinking about it. You know, even if someone makes a comment in the street, or if someone looks at us in a particular way, and you feel like you know that they're judging you, you bring that home with you, and you're thinking about it, you're overanalyzing it, you're thinking, what were they thinking, and why did they feel that way about me, and why did they judge me, and I wish they hadn't judged me, and I wish that person hadn't said that, you know, and why did they say that, and you're going back and forth in your head. And I think it's important for us to remember that we can let those opinions and judgments go. Here's what I think: when you dress in a way that's really different, it's a very different way of thinking, and for me it's also a different way of being. So, you know, it's a huge part of your life when you do dress in this way. It's a huge part of your life. It's something that's really meaningful to you, and not everybody's going to get it. And that's okay. They don't have to get it. This is your authentic expression, and your authentic expression is really personal to you. And of course, it's amazing when people care about it and when people want to hear about it and they're interested and they have empathy for the fact that you're expressing yourself in this way. But remember that if they don't, you know, it's something that's personal to you and they might just not understand it. So many people are, even still now, I mean, I know that we're in 2020, but even still now, so many people are threatened by what's different. And I think that's one of the things, you know, the fact that I've experienced so much of this when I've been in smaller places and smaller areas, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that, you know, they're maybe not used to seeing people who dress differently. And it's, you know, I've found anyway that, you know, there are some places that have been quite sheltered from different, not just different ways of expression, but different people as well. The next thing that I think is really important to remember is that it's really not about you. You think that it is. You know, we think that when someone looks at us and makes a judgment on us because of how we're dressing, and when someone has, you know, makes a very negative judgment about who we are, because of the way that we're presented, because of the clothes that we choose to wear, you know, without asking our opinion, without trying to understand why we're dressing this way and where it's coming from, it really can feel like it's about us. It can feel personal, but it's not. I think it has so much more to do with the other person and where they're at in their life. For some people, making a negative judgment about you is a way of making themselves feel better. I think it's a way of saying, well, this person is different, therefore there is something wrong with this person because they're different, and I am not like that, I'm not different in that way, so there is nothing wrong with me. And I think some people use it as a way to sort of try to boost their self-esteem in some way. I don't know whether it works, but I do think that it's something that, you know, that people maybe not even consciously try to do. I think that societal assumptions about beauty has a lot to do with it as well, and has a lot to do with the way that people react to others who are dressing differently, because there are societal ideas and concepts about what beauty is and what it looks like for women, what it looks like for men. It can often be very binary, and so if you don't look that way, then automatically in their mind they're potentially seeing you as someone who doesn't fit that stereotypical concept of beauty. And firstly, they judge you, but secondly, they don't know how to get their heads around that. I mean, if you're someone who really worries about whether or not other people think you're beautiful, about whether or not other people think that you're meeting that bar, that expectation of beauty and of being, not just in terms of beauty, but generally of being what other people want and expect you to be, what other people think that you should be, then seeing someone else who literally just doesn't care about that, who doesn't feel threatened by those unsaid rules, and who doesn't feel like they need to follow that way of dressing, that's probably going to be a really confusing thing. And while we're on the subject of beauty, we have gender roles thrown in there as well, for sure. I mean, there are so many stereotypes about how guys should dress versus how girls should dress, and it's just, I mean, like, what do you even say about that? There's probably just so much to say on that. Like, so many people have been taught that this is how girls act and dress, this is how guys act and dress. And yeah, for so many people, I think it probably does literally blow their mind if they see you not conforming to that. I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to question societal assumptions about how we should dress and about how we should present ourselves, but also how we should express, you know, our gender, our sexuality, our personality. It's a wonderful thing, and not everybody is going to feel ready to share in that. But we need to remember that, you know, the most important thing is that we feel comfortable in ourselves, that we accept ourselves. We're the only people who, and I've said this recently in another video that was totally another topic. I don't think it was about fashion at all. We need to accept ourselves. And when you accept yourself, it doesn't matter who else accepts you or doesn't accept you. Here's what I think. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. Your way of being is beautiful. Your expression, your self-expression is beautiful. Your creative expression, your gender expression, the way that you express yourself through your clothing and through your style and your fashion, it's beautiful. And you don't need the go-ahead from anybody else. You just have to love yourself, and you can't let anybody else keep you from expressing yourself in a way that feels right. That's what I think. So I hope that, if nothing else, that maybe this has gotten you thinking about a few things, and that maybe you feel a tiny little bit more confident, or a tiny little bit more supported than you did before you watched this. I don't know, but I hope you do, and I hope that you find a way that, if you are struggling with other people's judgment about the way that you present, then I really hope that you find a way to make peace with that, and I hope that you really start to build the confidence within yourself. And I know that you can, because I did. So I hope that you liked the video. If you did, please press the like button, and if you've not subscribed to my channel yet, then please hit the subscribe button. And I think that if you hit the bell and you hit all notifications, then you should be notified every time I post a new video. I'm going to leave my Instagram handle down here as well. I'd love you to comment. If you'd like to comment, that would be really, really awesome. And I will see you in my next video.